Welcome back to Dynamo Thoughts. We took a little break because, Ian he had something pop out. He's now a new dad, and so congratulations, Ian.
Thank you, thank you.
So
Well, I didn't have anything pop out,
no,
but
yeah, your
no,
wife
he's
did. Yeah.
that's right, that's right. But yeah, well, his name is Connor. He's
Uh-huh.
a proud addition to our family, and he's been really good to us. He's been sleeping like 5, 6 hours a night, and
Wow.
so I probably sound, I don't know if I sound more tired than at the end of the last episode, but I feel at least somewhat well rested. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, let's get it done. So in the comments, make sure you leave a congratulations, and
Oh,
so you make Ian feel special and embarrassed as well. And so
probably more embarrassed than special, but no, thanks in advance for those comments.
great.
Of course, if you have any questions about Dynamo and how we use it, feel free to leave those in the
That's
comments as
right.
well.
Leave them in the comments and make sure you tell everybody you know on the social medias that Dynamo Thoughts exists so we can get our view count up.
No, that's right. Well, the goal is that,
Shameless plugs.
well, of course, if you can tell as many people, that's
Uh
terrific.
huh.
But feel free to keep coming back to these videos as references too. We're trying to
Oh,
put as
yeah.
much good content in there that you can kind of come back to. Today, what we're going to cover is exporting Revit data out to Excel using Dynamo.
Right.
So I imagine if you watch the video, whether it's on your computer, on your mobile device, or something, and you're not following along in Dynamo, hopefully you get a sense of how this works. But when the time comes that you do need to export data out to Excel with Dynamo, come on back to this video and you'll be able to follow along click by click.
This goes on with the last episode where we were tracking square footages. We're going to take this a little step further and export it out to Excel so we can assign department data.
That's right. That's right. And this is, of course, a step in the process, like when Cameron was on the show and visualized all this really great Revit data with Power BI.
Uh huh.
Like this is definitely a
Right.
step that can be a part of that workflow. This could be a
Sure.
part of your personal workflow or how you share information with your
Mm-hmm.
extended project team. There are plenty of applications for getting Revit data out to Excel, other than just kind of a schedule export.
To catch everybody back up again as well, we keep thinking that it's so long, but people may be watching this right after the other one, so I guess it doesn't matter. We're using the advanced sample project again, and we're in the current shipping
That's right.
versions of the product, which is 2017.1 and Dynamo
Mhm.
1.2.1.
So let's jump into it.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So let's see the example that we're going to kind of dive into today. Of course, we're in the advanced example
Uh-huh.
file. Um, if we click on any one of these rooms in the project, we'll notice that the sample file has some good information in it. We have room numbers, we have room names, but what we don't have are room departments. So if I scroll down to the
Mm-hmm.
department parameter, you'll notice that that's empty. And in a future video, what we'll do, part of the reason that we're exporting out to Excel right now
Mm-hmm.
is, for one, we want to report information like a room schedule with rooms, numbers, and names. But we'll ultimately do, as part of this two-part series, is we'll export the data out to Excel, and then in Excel, we'll type in information that we'd like to see in Revit. For our example, we'll type in what we'd like to see in this department parameter value. And then in a future episode of Dynamo Thoughts, we're going to pull that Excel data back into Revit so that it automatically writes those parameters for every single room in the project.
Exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff.
I
So we'll
know.
start off by opening up Dynamo. That's where the excitement begins.
Okay.
If you are not in Revit 2017, you'll find Dynamo under your Add-ins tab. But if you are in Revit 2017, you'll find it under Manage. All right, so now that Dynamo's loaded,
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and open up a brand new workspace. We'll build a script from scratch here.
Okay.
And if you remember from another Dynamo Thoughts episode, one of the first things that we want to do, let's roadmap this thing out. We know that we want to start by exporting, or at least by gathering room information. So a good place to start in Dynamo here is to gather all of the room objects in this entire project. So we can do that under our Revit section of the node library under selection. There's some handy nodes here for selecting Revit elements. So in particular, we know that we want to grab all of the room elements. So I'll drop in the all elements of category node, which takes one single input and it's asking which category do we want to pull all of the elements of. So we can drop in a categories node, which has a pull down menu, and we get to pick and choose which category we'll be pulling from today, which will be rooms. Excellent.
Yep.
So I'll plug in our category output to our all elements of category input, and we can visualize the data coming out of the node. I'm going to right click on my canvas to search for a watch node. So our watch node is just reporting what data is coming out of the all elements of category node. And you can see here we have a list of 91. Remember, our index starts with 0. So we have a list of 91 room objects. And we can tell that these are Revit rooms because we have a highlighted green element ID number next to all these rooms. These aren't just the word room 91 times. These are room objects.
Okay.
Our next step is going to be, rather than just grabbing all these room objects, now we want to ask those rooms questions. We want to ask, what is the parameter value of the room number and the room name? So let's start with the room number. That'll be a good place to start.
Okay.
So now that we've selected our rooms, we can go to Revit Elements. And under the element section, these are a series of nodes that apply to just about any Revit object, or Revit element rather. They're not specific to any given category. So a lot of these nodes apply to lots of categories in Revit. So one of these parameters is get parameter value by name. So we can...
I actually thought that was going to be the one you were going to pick before you picked it. So that means I'm becoming a Dynomaniac.
All right, good. The podcast is working.
It is.
We're learning. Hopefully you're not the only one. I hope there are viewers out there that are finding this helpful too.
Oh, I'm sure at least 3 other people.
Come to think of it, I spoke to 3 people at AU who were appreciative of the DynamoThoughts podcast.
So that must be the 3.
There are at least 3.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wonder if I talked to the same 3. I don't know.
Okay, so there are between 3 and 6 people. We have proof that there are 3 to 6 people that appreciate the DynamoThoughts podcast. Excellent, good. So hopefully those 3 to 6 people also recognize that's right. We can read element parameters using the element get parameter value by name node. And I think we did this in a previous episode too. Come to think of it with room objects.
Yeah.
So good. We're kind of recycling this node.
Okay.
We're gonna plug in all of our room elements. I'm gonna you can notice here we're not necessarily pulling out of this watch node. This is a good meter. It just kind of shows us what data is coming out of here. So I'm just plugging from the category into element here. And then we also need to specify the parameter name.
Okay.
So the way that we can do that, I'm going to use, I think in a last episode, we used the double click example of creating a code block. So code blocks are a really good way of just quickly dropping in inputs. So
sorry, Paul, he doesn't like code blocks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Paul doesn't like code blocks, and I don't blame him. It can be overwhelming. It's an excellent shortcut, though. I will tell you. Don't worry about learning how to code inside of code blocks, but this is a really great shortcut for. In this case, we want to create a string. You could see that in this flyout it says I'm asking for a string that tells me what parameter name to read off of all these room objects.
Okay.
So in a code block we can specify a string by typing something in quotations. So we want to read the number parameter off of all these room objects. So if I look at our node preview here, now you can see we have all of these different room numbers, and basically what's happening here, you can see we still have the same number of objects, right? We have 90, we go up to index 90, so there are 91 rooms, and the order of these lists is the same. So this room object at index 0 has room number 101 at index 0 of this list, and index 1 room is room number 102, and so on and so forth, all the way down to the bottom of the list.
And so this is our first column in Excel.
Exactly right. So thinking ahead to Excel, you're 100% correct. This will be the first column that shows up in Excel. Now we can do the same exact thing in order to report the room names, which we're interested in doing next. So what I'll do here is I'm going to click and drag our a selection window over our get parameter nodes. I'm going to hit Control C on my keyboard. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and Control V makes an exact copy of those two nodes together. And it remembers that our
Oh, it remembers the connection
input is
too.
coming
Look at that.
from up here too. Yeah, so that's pretty convenient.
So
Of course, we
smart.
don't want to see the same list of information, right? We don't want to see two number cells. We want to see the number will be column A in Excel, and then column B would be the room's name.
Okay.
So we can just change our parameter name from number to name. And when I click off in space, you can see now we have a list of room names all the way down through index 90.
That.
Just an important thing to note here. So we're working with lists of information, right? We started with a list of rooms, which is multiple rooms altogether. Whenever you start kind of, it might feel like this list of information and this list of information, they're all disconnected. They're all in these three separate places, even though they all tie back to the same room objects. Whenever you're starting to work with multiple lists of things in Dynamo, it's a good idea to double check the length of your list at every step, just to make sure you didn't accidentally pick up or lose an item, depending on the way the node functions. Sometimes it changes that. So if just for example, let's say one of these lists, index 2, just gets deleted somewhere along the line. When you look at what comes out the other end, there's no way to know what information is lost. Basically, these indexes don't line up anymore, and that index is what really keeps everything coordinated.
Great. And if there's, like, let's say that there's a room but no name, but only a number, that would come up blank at the bottom, but still have a spot for it in the name area, right?
I think you're right. Let's do a test.
Okay.
So here's our cafeteria at room number 121. I'm just going to go ahead and change, instead of cafeteria, I'll delete the room name altogether.
Okay.
So we see our question mark.
Look at that.
So now let's see.
Look at that. See,
we're
it's
going to
missing.
start by finding room 121.
Which is the second.
Ah, there we go.
There it is.
Exactly.
Wow.
So this is a pretty convenient option. It's pretty nice because now we know, if we scroll down here, we still have 91 items in both lists, right?
And it did that because our run is set to automatic. So if our run was set to manual, we'd have to press the run button to see the results.
That's right. That's right. Now, what's dangerous about keeping all these, not dangerous, but something to be aware of while you're managing multiple lists of information. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that this node was designed so that if there was an item that had zero information, there was no information inside of it, it might skip straight from lobby. It'll just ignore this line of data altogether, and it would push all of these items up one index. So prep dish might appear right after lobby, and then dry storage would be shifted up, and the entire list would be shortened by 1. We wouldn't see index 90, we'd see 89.
Right.
So that becomes dangerous, because at some point in the future, we probably want to relate some form of these lists back together again.
Right.
So if we're not sure where an item went missing, we need to kind of backtrack and figure out exactly what happened that these lists stop lining up.
Okay.
So anyway, that's kind of an abstract concept. It'll make a little bit more sense, I think, once we start to bring information in from Excel to Dynamo. But just kind of something to be aware of when you're working with multiple lists of information.
Yeah, it'll also make more sense to somebody when they're running into that error that, oh, I remember when Ian was talking about that. That in the back
Hopefully,
of your mind.
of course, right.
Absolutely.
So we've now collected the information that we want to write to Excel. Exactly what happens next is kind of unclear. So this is where I like to kind of drop in the node that I know we're going to use, and then figure out what additional information we need to provide. So let's pretend just for a second that we don't know. Actually, I'm going to say let's pretend we don't know. Here's the section in the node library called Office, which is probably a good place to go looking for Excel nodes, and here they happen to be. Of course, if you didn't want to go hunting through the node library, you can always search the node library for something like Excel. So in our case, we want to write the information that we've collected in Dynamo out to Excel. So I'm going to drop in the Excel write to file node. And this kind of seems like an overwhelming amount of inputs, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not too bad. It's actually pretty straightforward. We'll run down them pretty quickly.
Okay.
First thing that we need to specify is the location of an Excel file.
Mm-hmm.
So before we do anything here in Dynamo, we need to make sure that there's an Excel file. Totally blank is okay. Actually, totally blank is preferred,
Mm-hmm.
that we can point Dynamo to that's going to write the data.
Oh, so do we have to have a file to start with?
So we do have to have a file to
Oh,
start
okay.
with. So I've picked a spot on my file server where I already know I'm going to be working. I'm going to right click in this folder and just create a brand new Microsoft Excel worksheet.
Okay.
And maybe I'll give this the name DynamoThoughts Excel Write. And I'm going to make sure that I have the location of that file copied to my clipboard because it's going to make things easier in Dynamo.
Okay.
So I've got a brand new blank Excel file. I'll open it up to prove that nothing
Mm-hmm.
exists here. No
Nothing
tricks
up.
up my sleeve.
Yep. Nothing up your sleeve.
That's right. And now we're ready to point Dynamo to the Excel file I just created. So
Okay.
it's asking us now for a file path. What I prefer to do, there's a nifty node in the library specifically for file paths that lets you browse your network or your computer for a file path. So I'm going to click
Mm-hmm.
on the browse button. I'll go ahead and navigate to my Excel file, DynamoThoughts Excel Write .xlsx, and I'll hit open. So now this node is now pointing to that Excel file, and I'm ready to plug that into our file path input.
Okay.
So, all right, first step down. Next, we have to tell it what the sheet name is. So if you have an Excel file that you're already working in and you have multiple tabs in Excel, that's totally okay. You just need to tell Dynamo what the name of your active sheet is. What sheet do you want to write data to? So in our case, that's sheet 1. I'm going to double click to create a code block. Again, sorry, Paul. Sheet 1. And I'm putting this in quotes because it does need to be a string. This is also case sensitive, so I was sloppy about doing a lowercase s. You can see here that's an uppercase S that we need to use. So I'll plug sheet 1 into our sheet name.
Did it put the semicolon in for you?
It does. It
Okay.
does. And the semicolon, I'll show you what that semicolon is for. You can have multiple lines in a code block. So at the end of this semicolon, I can hit enter, and we can now create another line of data if we want
Oh,
to. So
okay.
if I wanted to just kind of put in a 0 and then click off in space, it not only adds another semicolon at the end of the line, but the semicolon just kind of is that's programming language in code block. I think it's design script technically. So the semicolon at the end of the line says this is the end of that line of code. We can start a new one. And now you can see another output here for the number 0 has appeared because it recognizes this is even though we're inside the same code block, this is another output.
Okay.
So that 0 is going to come in handy right here, actually. So it's now asking what row in Excel do we want to start writing data to? And you can see in our flyout here, it says type a 0 for row A. Well, I guess if we're talking rows, we're talking about numbers. So 0 is the first row, even though in Excel, it starts with the number 1. As far as Dynamo is concerned, this is row 0.
Okay.
So yeah, we want to start writing data up here, right? Top left corner and kind of work our way out and down.
Sure.
So we can plug in this number 0 for our start row and our start column.
Okay.
Start column works the same way. So 0 is A, 1 is B, and so on and so forth. And now it's asking for the data. So everything here, even though we had these 4 inputs and we thought, wow, this is an overwhelming amount of information that we need to tell this Dynamo node, we did that fairly quickly. And you'll do it even faster because you won't have me explaining why we're doing everything. You'll just be able to go ahead and plug everything in. So the next step is what data do we want to drop into the Excel spreadsheet? So this is where our Excel node meets the information that we've collected from Dynamo. So our list of numbers and our list of room names. Now, as you can see, we only have one input for data, right? We don't have a different input for every line or every column of data that we want to plug into Excel. The reason being Dynamo expects at this point for us to give a nested list structure to that data column.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by nested lists, here's one list of information, right? This is our list of numbers.
Okay.
Here's another list of information. That's our list of room names.
Mm-hmm.
What we can do is we can combine these two, not into a single list of information, but a list of two lists. This would be list one,
Oh, okay.
list two. So we can actually make a list out of these two lists,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of an inception-y type concept.
Right.
But it's going to come in handy, especially for some of the more complex things that you'll want to do in Dynamo at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So under the core list section of the node library, we could use the list create node. This is the best way to, in my opinion anyway, to assemble a list of information that you already have in your
Mm-hmm.
workspace somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to plug in our list of room numbers as the first item in this list,
Mm-hmm.
and our list of room names. Oh, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? Let's Control Z in Revit. Let's put this room name back,
Okay.
cafeteria. There we go, and you can see our cafeteria is back there. Good. So now we can add our list of room names to our
Mm-hmm.
list create node. And if we look at the data coming out of here, let's compare what we
Mm-hmm.
have. At first glance, it looks a lot like our list of room numbers, right?
Right.
Here we have
Except
our
we
list
got
of room numbers. But if we
182
scroll down a little
instead.
bit further, that's right. If we scroll down to index 1, we
Uh-huh.
now have a list at index 1, which is picking up all of our room names.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can even collapse these two items just to be really clear about what's happening. So
Mm-hmm.
think about it this way. We have a list at index 0 and a list at index 1. Here's our list that we provided to item 0, index 0 of the list. And this list is index 1 here.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to maximize index 0, we have this list.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, index 1 is this list. So is that pretty clear about how we've
Mm-hmm.
assembled a list of lists, right? So
Right.
we have two lists, each list containing 91 pieces of information.
Yep.
That's the type of structure that Excel is looking for.
You can have as many items as you need because I see that plus and minus button there.
That's right. That's right. If we wanted to expand and have more columns in Excel,
Mm-hmm.
we could use the plus button to keep adding more and more items to that list, which would turn out to be columns
Mm-hmm.
in Excel. You're right. So now we have a single output
Mm-hmm.
that we can plug into our data input. So I'll go ahead and plug that right in.
Mm-hmm.
And our last step is, do we want to overwrite this? I'll kind of explain what this is about. This is asking for a Boolean value, so true or false. Do you want to overwrite the entire sheet every time that this script writes data? In our case, we're starting off with a totally blank workbook, and chances are anytime that we run the Dynamo script,
Mm-hmm.
potentially based on changes that happen in Revit, we probably do want to totally start from scratch. So I'm going to set this overwrite value to true. I'll just add one more line
Okay.
in the code block. I'll type in the word true, and you could see it highlights in purple. It
Mm-hmm.
recognizes, okay, this is a Boolean value, and I'll plug in our overwrite. So the moment of truth here, we can see that our node ran with no errors. We have a dark gray header. So now let's
Mm-hmm.
go back over to our Excel file, and oh, this is interesting.
Look at that.
Look at that.
That's
This is
so
not
close.
a terribly, we're close. The data's there.
Yeah.
The data's there.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the formatting is different from what we had in mind, right? We kind
Right.
of thought all of our room numbers would be down in one column and names in another.
It works great if you're horizontal.
That's right. That's right. It's possible that you're interested in managing your data kind of one item at a time from left
Right.
to right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what we had in mind
Right.
here, and that's okay. There's a really easy fix here.
Okay.
It's also under our core list section of the node library. There's a node called Transpose.
Okay.
So this Transpose node, let's go back over to our list create
Mm-hmm.
node. So this is where we first started working with a nested list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, we have two lists, each list containing 91 items.
Right.
What we essentially want in Excel is to have, instead of 2 lists of 91 items, we want to have 91 lists, each one containing 2 items, right? Because
Oh, that's right.
what Dynamo is doing is it's looking at the first list. It recognizes, oh,
Mm-hmm.
there's 91 things. We'll put that all into the same row, and then we
Mm-hmm.
start the next row. Okay,
All right.
91 more things, great. We want to flip the matrix, and that's what Transpose does. So it's going to take our 2 lists of 91 items each, and it turns it into 91 lists, each containing 2 items. See that? So now we're down to index
Mm-hmm.
90, and each one has 2 items. It takes index 0 of both lists
Mm-hmm.
and groups them into one list. Index
Okay.
1 of both lists and groups them together. So let's go ahead and plug that into our Excel data input, and that's looking much better.
Look at that.
And that's the end of our script. We've written a
That's
script now
it.
that looks at
Wow.
every room object. It writes out the number and the name to an Excel file.
Okay. Let me give it a try. Let's see if
All
I
right.
can do it. I'm sure I can because you're there. So I launched the Dynamos, and that's in Manage because I'm in 2017.1.
Excellent. Right.
And you know what's really cool? We're recording this on the 23rd, so we have what 7 days until the years are correct. Where
All
Autodesk
right.
is 2017 and the real year is 2017
And we get to enjoy that for what, 3 months,
for
4
3 or
months?
4 months. That's right.
About that?
Yeah,
Excellent. That's right.
it is exciting.
I do look forward to that time of year.
It is.
Although I get I feel like we're already in 2017 because we've been talking about 2017 for so long. I
No.
wonder if our New Year's Eve celebrations are less interesting than the rest of the world's.
Oh no, no. I'm sure our New Year's Eve
They're more
celebrations
interesting.
are more interesting than the rest of the world. Oh yes. Okay, so I've got I've got an empty Dynamo script, and I
All
want
right.
to do that exporting to Excel. And first thing I need to do is I need to get all of those room elements. So I need to do
That's right.
all elements from category to get those things. So that is under Revit and selection because I want to select all my rooms, and I want
That's
to
right.
select
Yep.
all those rooms by category. And now I need a category. So I'll grab that and I'll pick rooms, bypassing all the roofs again. So I want rooms and I want all of those. And there's no little hootis down here, so I need a watch for that.
That's right. That's right.
Oops, I need to
I think
click
that's
and
what the
search.
developers call it too. It's a hootis, right?
That is the technical term for that. And there's all my rooms. And now
Terrific.
I
Yep.
need to grab the room numbers, the room names out of that. And so I need to get that Revit element information out of there. So it's Revit Elements. And I need to get the parameter because that's what I'm getting. So we'll find parameter.
Yep, that's right.
And I want to get it, so it's going to be in a question mark. And I want to get parameter name, right?
Oh, you know what? Let's drop that one in.
Okay. Oh, it's not going to work.
That's
I can
okay. That's
tell.
okay.
I can
Yeah,
tell.
so this is
Oh,
one of
that's right.
the
It's
interesting
backwards.
things about the node library.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. We are looking for a parameter, but what most of the things, most of the nodes in this section of the node library, if you had a parameter object, because actually parameters have a Revit element ID.
Oh,
You learn
okay.
a lot about like the Revit API and how Revit thinks about things under the hood. If you had a Revit parameter object in your Dynamo workspace, these are all the nodes that you'd be able to use to interact with it. You could also do things like create project. This is pretty helpful actually to look at, right? You could create project parameters, shared parameters, all these kinds of things. But in this case, we're not interested in working with a parameter object. We're interested in working with our also kind of misleading. We have a list of room objects that we want to get the parameters from.
Oh, okay. So it would be this one then.
But because we can pull, let's delete that parameter name component.
Okay.
You can even close up this whole section of the node library. That parameter section we can close up.
Okay. Let me kill that.
What we're interested in is the element section of the node library. Even though we're already in Revit Elements,
Okay.
there's another section called
Oh,
Elements, Revit Elements.
elements.
And if you go, yeah, there's one more. So
Oh,
this is kind of like the generic set of nodes that apply to all kinds of Revit categories.
okay.
And this is where you'll find your get parameter value by name.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
That's the one.
So
Yep.
that other one I clicked on wasn't it either that I clicked on earlier. I picked on
Right,
this
right.
one. Even though they look pretty close, they're not the same. Because this is exporting a var, which would be the list of parameter or the list of objects, where this is just exporting the parameter.
Right. This is getting so, yeah, interesting. What that would, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's keep that on the canvas. Let's compare what comes out both sides.
Okay.
Because I've never used this node, but I have a hunch as to what it
All right.
what it
So
does.
there's my elements. And
Mhm.
there's my elements. And parameter value, I need a sorry Paul. That's what we're gonna call code blocks from now.
Sorry, Paul, code block.
And I need number. And I'll grab number. And then I have my 91 rooms, and there's all my numbers. And I want to grab these two. And what do we have here? We have 91 and number. So let's pin these things and see what we've got. So even though the list looks the same, it looks to me that they would be exporting different kinds of objects.
I agree, right. You would see, if we were to export this out to Excel as is, you would see in your Excel column the word number, space, colon, space, and then your room number.
So if you want that, use this one. But we don't, so we're going to use this one.
That's right. And I imagine if this was a text parameter or a yes or no parameter, instead of saying number, it would kind of specify exactly what type of parameter this this data is.
Right, because we may need this someday, so we'll remember that we can do that. So I'm going to delete that thing, get it out of there. And then I'm going to highlight these guys and Control C, Control V, and scoot him down here. And I'm going to do one more because I'm strange.
Okay.
Because I want this to be name. Whoops. That's what happens when you hit the caps lock key. Name. And then this one's going to be department.
Ah, okay.
And then those are all blank. And they're all 91. So we know we got
That's right.
We got what we're looking for. So now we need to bring this out to Excel. And so that is under Office. See, I remembered something. And I want to write to Excel.
That's right.
And I need an Excel file. And I don't have one yet.
Okay, so let's go ahead and make that now.
So let me make this a little bit bigger for all the people out there in TV land. I'm being nice. Okay. And we'll scoot that over there. So hopefully you can read it. And so now we need a file. So I'll go to my File Explorer. And hey, look at that. There's a DynamoThoughts directory. So I'll create my E5, and this will be export. And we need a new Excel file. And look at that. I can create a new Excel file, and we'll call this rooms. Good enough. All right. So now I've got a file.
Good enough. Yep.
Too bad I can't just drag and drop that to there. That would be cool.
Oh, can you?
I don't know. Let's try it.
I imagine you can't, but what happens?
No.
Ooh.
That would be bad. So don't do that.
Yeah,
Boy, that would be cool though, wouldn't it? All right. So now I need to grab a file. So
really
that's going to be under the file path. You did a search for it. So
that's
I'm
right.
Do that too. File path.
I'm not actually sure where that file path.
It's in core.
Oh, it's input core. Okay.
Let's see. So core input. And there it is, file path.
And there it is. All
See?
right, cool.
Look
So
at
that's
that.
how you reverse engineer a search for a node.
Absolutely.
Terrific.
I'm becoming one of these expert guys, I think. Not really.
Pretty soon, there are just going to be Dynamo Thoughts episodes published, and I won't even be a part of them. I'll be
Oh no,
one of the
that won't
readers, one of
happen.
the viewers at home. Like, oh my gosh, look at all these Dynamo Thoughts that Bill has without me.
Maybe. Won't happen though. All right. So the sheet name, we know that's sheet 1. Oops, I
Correct,
gotta
right.
put it in the quotes.
That's right. That's right. The quotes are important because otherwise the code block thinks you're trying to type a design script and it gets confused.
And I know I need a 0 because I'm remembering.
That's right.
Why is this mad? Oh, I don't have a
It's
semicolon.
mad because there you go. There's the semicolon, right?
All right. So now I want to.
So it will automatically add the last semicolon in the code block for you, but if you have other lines of code, you need to remember to put those semicolons
And then
in.
my data is going to be my list, but I need to make a new list to put it in because I can only have one in. I can have multiple
That's
outs,
right. That's right.
like here, but I can only have one in. Only one.
That's right.
Any. So that's a list. Is that a? Hey, there it is, right there, list. And I want to create a list. Look at that. And I need another one. And we don't need to give these things names because it doesn't really matter. And there's my list. And I know I need to transpose that list because I remembered that. So we will find.
Oh, do we want to bring in the number also?
Oh yes, good thinking. Is there a way to like move that up? No, I have to reorder them all, don't I? Oh, look at that. Boy, now I've really done it.
I mean, you can unplug from item 0 and replug in item 1. You can kind of like disconnect and reconnect if you wanted to.
But you
that
just
works.
can't, move it around. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's only a problem when you have
all of them.
When you have a few hundred of them. But then we'd probably do it differently. And I know we need to transpose. And I want to transpose this list. And so now this list looks like a bunch of lists. Great. Super and duper.
Good.
And let's make sure that the bottom one has 3 items. That's a good way to make sure that our list numbers are right. And I'll put that in the data. And I need to overwrite. Oh, it's doing the writing now. And Excel did its thing.
Oh yeah, so it is writing. That ran properly. That's right. The reason that in this case it makes sense to set the overwrite is let's say I don't know, you go back to work in Revit and you combine a couple rooms, so you now have fewer rooms than you exported to Excel in Dynamo.
Okay.
If you ran this script again, it would still leave the data for, I don't know, let's say you delete 2 rooms. You would have 2 extra rows of old data that would still live in Excel if you aren't overwriting the sheet every time you run.
Okay. And I just had another epiphany, if that's the right term. But we'll decide if it's the right term or not. This isn't actually writing to the file. That's why we have to create the file first. It's actually creating an ODBC connection to this Excel to write it. Because
I don't know if that's true or not.
And the reason I think that's
what makes you say that?
The reason I think that's true is because I didn't have to close and reopen the file. It updated it. So it's writing to it.
I've never.
It's writing to it through the Excel API kind of thing.
Interesting. Okay.
Instead of writing to the file. So it's using Excel to write the data instead of just writing a new Excel file. That's my theory. And if
interesting. So what impact does that have on a user or a BIM manager?
What impact does that have?
I
don't know.
Yeah, like how does that affect the way that you work as opposed to if it was writing directly to Excel? Otherwise, we would have to close and reopen Excel every time we ran it. Okay. Yeah. So sure, we can leave Excel open here.
And we have to have Excel on our machine for this to work.
Yes, that. Well, come to think of it, I've never tried to run that node without Excel installed. It's tough to find a machine without Excel installed.
It is.
Windows, anyway.
Who in their right mind would have OpenOffice instead of Excel? You know who you are. Um, so Matt, if you're listening to BIM Thoughts, which I hope, or to Matt, if you're listening to Dynamo Thoughts, which I hope you are, please write in the comments if I'm right, because that would make me happy. All right, so let's add in another thing here for the true, since we know we need that anyway.
Right.
True. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I double click to get true to work, and then I click somewhere else. And we want to overwrite. And it's okay if you cross the beams in Dynamo.
That's right.
Okay, so now I have all that. Let's look at our Excel file again. And I've got that. Now, how could we see? I've got room number. I know it's room number. I know
Mm-hmm.
this is name. And I know that this is description because I wrote the script. Is there any way
That's
to
right,
add
yep.
that to the top of this through Dynamo?
Oh, as a header row?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Okay.
It's going to take another node or two.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let's zoom in on your list transpose node,
Okay.
because that's the data that's right about to go out to Excel.
Right.
What we can do is we can create, we would basically want to create another list of 3 items that would go at the very beginning of that list.
And then we'd have
and
to
those 3
combine the
items would
lists
be your
together.
headers.
And then we would combine the lists
Exactly,
together.
right.
Okay. All right.
Right. So let's do this. Let's start by dropping in either let's use a string node.
Yeah, let me see if
go ahead.
if I can figure it out. Now, for those of you
Sure.
listening
I'll stay quiet.
for those of you listening at home, we haven't talked about this yet. So these, can I put strings into these?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can put any type of data into a
All
list
right.
create node.
So let's see if I can do it. I want to do a list create, and I want another list, and I'll put an obbin in here. Or I'm sorry, not an obbin, that's a half hour. I'll put a Paul in. All right, sorry,
Yeah,
Paul.
a sorry Paul, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put a sorry Paul in here. And so this is going to be number and name and department. You know what I could have done, which would have been smarter? Is
What's that?
I didn't need to use a sorry Paul. I could have just done this.
Hey, there you go. Yep. Let's do that.
Yeah. So now I'm connecting a different sorry Paul into that. Okay, so now I've got this list.
So that just before you move much further along, the major advantage to doing connecting back to those code blocks at the beginning of the script. Now, if you decided, okay, I don't care about the room name anymore, I want to change and pull a different parameter value.
Right.
Instead of managing 2 different pieces of information, that all is tied back to those same 3 strings.
Absolutely.
So you're right. It's a more integrated way of working, and I highly recommend doing that everywhere that you can.
So now I've got 2 lists. So now I need to figure out how to put those lists together. And I would think that would be concatenation, but it is not. Is it? List combine.
It's not concatenation. List combine. I'm just gonna stop you.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not list combine. I'll explain if you're interested. This could be a whole other episode what list combine does.
So that's not it.
But it's not what you think.
All right, we'll have another episode on list combine one day. So which one is it then? Join?
If you scroll, you're in the right section of the node library.
Oh, okay.
Join, hover over join for a second. Let's read the description.
Okay.
List join concatenates all the lists into a single list. So that could potentially
do it.
be.
Let's try it.
Let's give that a try.
All right. So let's join this list. Oh no, I got a plus. And I want this to be the second list, this to be the first list, because I want these on top. And then I want
Right.
this.
Okay. So order matters here.
And it says
Oh.
And it says
Well, let's see the
warning.
data coming out of your list join.
Oh, that's a good idea. List to there. Oh, it's not adding it to the list. It's adding it. It's creating a list first and then okay. I don't know how to quite explain that, but it's created a list for this and then a list for all 3 of these.
Well, it's not thinking about
Yeah,
the your headers as a list.
right,
And that's what list join does, is it just looks at every item, because you've given that list three separate items and then a fourth
right,
item, which is a list. So that's why it's
right.
confused.
Okay, so that's not it.
There is another note. There are a couple ways that we can recover from that if we wanted to continue using list join. But if you scroll up to the top of the list
Mm-hmm.
section, there's a list add item to front. And that's a good way to
Oh,
add a list item to the beginning of a list.
okay. So,
So I think this is going to be our easiest
so
time
this
here.
is going to go here, and this is going to go here, and then this is
Yep.
going to go here, and that doesn't look right to me.
Oh, you know what? We're close. We want to add this after the transpose. That's what happened. So we
Right.
still have two lists of 91
Oh,
items,
I
but
get it. I'm
instead
on the
we want
bus.
to pass.
All right, so
There we
this
go.
goes
We're
to
close.
here, and then this.
hmm
Let's get rid of you for a minute. This goes to here. That's the list. There it goes. Is that
There
it?
it is.
Yeah,
Yep. So
that's
your
it.
first item
Uh-huh.
is your header row,
Right.
number, name,
Mm-hmm.
department, and then everything below is the data that you want to export.
Right. Right. Yes, because we wanted to add it to an existing list. We didn't want to add it to this because then it would add a list to a list. We wanted to add items to this. We wanted to add the results of this to the list. I don't know if that
hmm
makes sense
hmm
or not, but it's starting to come in.
Dynamo is hard to talk about because you say list so frequently. It's tough to
Right.
even keep your own thoughts straight sometimes.
Look at that. It
All right,
worked.
there it is. Terrific.
Fantastic. So there is my Excel spreadsheet that has the data that I wanted from Revit into Excel. So I guess that
All
concludes
right.
this action-packed episode of Dynamo Thoughts. And in our
Yes, it does.
next
All right,
and
terrific,
in our
cool.
next one we'll talk
We
about
covered a
putting
lot of
this
ground
data
today.
back. Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff today. Look, this is probably
We
my
did.
most populous script. The most notes I've done to date is in this.
There's something satisfying about zooming out when you're done and seeing, wow, I
Look at
I
all
put
those
that many nodes
notes.
on the canvas
Yeah,
today.
who would have thought? Look at that.
I
And
mean,
we'll
I
make
think your proudest moment though, you made a really important connection when
uh-huh.
you said, "Wait a second, I want to pull those three input code blocks. I want to put those together into my list join."
Yes.
That was a proud
Was that
moment for
the
me as
proud
your
papa
unofficial
moment?
instructor.
The proud papa moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an important concept to understand.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for teaching us Dynamo again. And I'm glad you're back. And I'm excited for you of being a new father. And
Thank you.
I am sure you're going to have the rest of your, well, a lot of years ahead of you to be a proud papa. Uh-huh. And then
Oh
one,
man, I already am. It's been a blast.
uh-huh.
It's been the
It's been
coolest
a
thing ever.
blast. All right.
hmm
All right.
Well, thanks. It's good to be
Yep.
back. Nice work today.
Okay. Thank you. And